You would take a look at the minutes from last week's meeting, and if there's a motion to adopt, we'll entertain that.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, minutes are adopted. Item number 1, Mayor Maddox, McWright's Ferry Road bond discussion.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the 8th of September, I sent you an email requesting that we place this item before the Finance Committee. And I presented at that time a timeline of where the team members would like to move forward as it relates to moving forward with construction of McWright's Ferry Road. This is one of the 7 identified projects in House Bill 600 that we passed back in 2015. It is a project that frankly first came to design when I was in 2nd grade.
Oh, wow.
So it's taking a long time for this project to finally be delivered, but it is, we are now on the cusp of accomplishing something that I think can make a huge difference for our entire community. So the schedule that we proposed going before you was that the project itself go to bids in October. We accept the bids in November. In a November-December timeframe, and this will be something Mr. Garrison can give us more advice on, and certainly the timing of the bids and reviewing the bids and accepting the bids will play in this as well as the holidays. Issuing bonds at whatever the bid price is, TCRIC ultimately reimburses us for the cost of the bond issuance. And they have recommended, and I certainly agree, and I wear dual hats, that we don't go to the market until we know what the bid price is.
Okay.
And then if that schedule were to be followed, that construction would commence in January. Now, in that time frame, what I didn't include was a validation hearing for 772, which allows this debt to be placed in a different bucket than our current constitutional debt limit. So we are ready to move forward with this process. It is a 60 to 90 day charge up the hill for us to get this done, but we think the market is really good. Rates have settled back down. Well, I don't know what today has been like because I saw the new inflation numbers. So we're going to that's going to continue to be the unfortunately the environment. But construction is beginning. People are starting. You hear this term a lot in the construction business. People are starting to get hungry, and so this may be a very good time for us to get into the market. Carly has put before you a preliminary, or the most recent updated budget for McWright's Ferry Road. The budget on the construction does include a 20% contingency built into that price. I will say under the right-of-way, thanks to the work of Tom Bobbitt, he saved us about $2 million. Certainly we're proud of Scott and Tom and the entire OCA team along with the city engineer's office in making that come to realization. But you see a breakdown of the different costs that are involved. Overall, today, based on the construction pricing that we have as of 2 weeks ago, this project would bid at $62.4 million. That'd be the amount of the bond that we would need. And it would also reimburse us for the costs that the city has been floating with this project as well. As you know, this is the budget as we know it today on the bid side in terms of construction. None of us will know to bid day what that actual number.
Walt, can I ask a quick question? When it comes to the reimbursement from TICRIC, do you have to? Does this have to go back to them and says before you do it and say this is the final deal, and then everybody votes and says we're going to reimburse the city blank for this, or is it?
I'm going to let Scott has been working. Excuse me. Scott has been working with the lease on the funding agreement for McWright, the final funding agreement for McWright's Ferry Road. So Scott and Carly.
TICRIC passed a resolution at their last meeting authorizing the execution of the reimbursable funding agreement that uses this full number. So Elise should be working on getting the actual funding agreement done. You guys will see probably next week at projects authorization for the mayor to sign that funding agreement when we get there.
And
and as far as, I don't know if your question is necessarily about, if there is, a certain amount that we have already spent specifically in right-of-way acquisition that have not been directly reimbursed from TCRIC, we will reimburse ourselves from the total bond that's taken out for that.
How much is that, Carly, again?
So the 8 million shown in right of way, hadn't we already, I thought we were done. Tom, is that a
So
good question?
The $8 million is the budget for right-of-way acquisition. As you will see kind of in the next two columns, we've directly spent 1.6 million, and then we have about 4.4 million that we can pull from the bond amount that we have expended so far. So there is that 1.9 million, so almost 2 million that Mr. Bobbitt has saved us that we have budgeted for, but we're not going to actually spend.
So of the cost estimate shown in the construction cost, again, I'm not clear, of the 8 million, we deduct the 1.63 and the 4.43? Because that's already been spent,
Those have been spent, yes, sir.
Okay. and we're just awaiting reimbursement of those.
Well, so that, I guess that was my comment, is that the ones that are under the column of bond eligible expenditures, those total up to about 7.6 million at the bottom that you
Right.
can see there. Those are items that we have expended from, so city cash has flowed out, but TCRIC has not reimbursed us for. But we have determined that once we issue the bond funds, we can then reimburse ourselves from those bond funds.
Okay.
Then TCRC reimburses the bond, the cost of the bond.
Keep it whole. That makes sense.
A lot of cash flowing.
Yeah.
So where does our cash go back? Because part of that we floated on a line of credit, didn't we?
Yes, sir. Part of that, this is a line of credit. We have paid off the line of credit, but basically we have a fund set up called our NASCAR fund that we have used to kind of like pre-front a lot of the costs and do a lot of the cash flow. But really that $7.6 million in cash is owed back to the general fund and the water and sewer fund. They're the ones that have fronted that money.
And contrary to, well, the fact that we have a very strong financial portfolio, strong cash reserves, has allowed us the ability to cash flow this project to begin getting this project moving.
That was the point, Mr. Mayor. But, I mean, there are no short, if we want to talk about, it's not time to talk about where we could spend that money though, right?
That's not, so.
There's no shortage of places.
Wait. Okay, so that is cash, that's not budget dollars.
I know.
So-
I'm just saying if everybody's
Wait,
awake and I
we'll
got
have a little heart
smiles
attack there for a
across the
second.
table.
It's my helicopter.
He would have galloped down if I started going down that road. If I had a helicopter.
I think we've gotten a little.
So Mayor,
What do you think, Cash?
what is what's the expected actionable sequence of what's coming to us?
I think you will begin to see a series of different actions come in different forms, whether it be authorizations of myself or the CFO or the city attorney's office or Fraser Lanier on a series of different things related to a bond issue. But we want to make certain the council is ready for us to go down this road. I assume you are. We've had that discussion, but I want to formalize it today.
So, construction bids come in October or November?
We'll bid out in October. Is
We'll
our
get them
plan.
in November?
You would, I think it's a 3 to 4 week bid issuance, and then we will get the bids back in November.
And would the 772 process be running parallel to that bid process, or would we wait until we get the bids? Do you have to wait till you get the bids?
No,
to
sir.
pursue the 772?
We're gonna start the 772 process as soon as possible. You may remember the last issuance we did, we had 772 wrapped up and we were actually done with it and kind of waiting on the rest of the process. That's where I want to be, because that validation doesn't expire.
Okay, so the bids would come back November-ish. The cost would be known. The 772 is culminating, and Mr. Garrison then talk to us, if you would, briefly about kind of timelines involved there, a quick synopsis of what we learned from our May interaction with the credit rating agencies on issuing on behalf of Tickerick, and timeline, and where rates are.
I think y'all hit a lot of it, and I'll try to summarize it. There's a reimbursement resolution on file, right? Carly?
Yes, sir, there is.
So that allows y'all to be able to reimburse yourself from bond proceeds for the expenses. So that's a check. We'll be dual tracks. They'll be doing the 772 process, Barry and the legal department, at the same time as we are engaging the rating agencies. Obviously, we were just in the market, so.
What additional engagement is necessary?
So every issuance, you have to get a rating, okay?
Check, but when I said the synopsis, you know, we fronted significant amount of money, like 75 grand back in May, to essentially take the pulse of the credit rating agencies and say, if we do this, how would it impact our bonds, okay? And then we got credit for much of that 75 grand coming back when we actually went out and got the ratings, check?
On A and B, yes.
Yeah.
And y'all-
So, and the shortest synopsis of those fused opinions of the continuation of the city issuing on behalf of Tickerick was, or is,
That it would not affect your credit rating as long as the funding agreement was very similar to the one for Jaguar. And only other thing to add is that we will not go to New York. This will be a phone call here. We can use a lot of the same presentation that we used in the summer.
do you think we'll have to go through the same fairly extensive exchanges with them, given we just issued and got rated?
We can cut it down.
And y'all's recommendation on which agencies to use would be
Fitch and Moody's.
Fitch and Moody's? And then timeline, what, from the time the construction costs come back, the 772's a thumbs up, what would you need to get money?
So the goal would be to have y'all adopt a series of different things that Scott and Carly and the mayor just mentioned, probably as early as the next few weeks. That'll start the 772 process. That'll take 30 or so plus days, and you got the appeal period. We always budget at least 45 days.
45
From the
days?
very beginning of when you file to when the appeal period ends.
So does that put us across the first of the year?
No, I think if we can get that going in early October, we'll be done with that by mid-November, which should line up with the time that y'all wanna award bids. We can drop the number into the POS, which will be ready by that point in time. Again, it's a document that we just did, so it's just a few cut and paste. So I'm thinking mid to late November, we would go to market.
And typically, once we get, Mayor, you may know, or Scott, once we get construction bids, how long do we have to say, yes, do it? Is it
45 days.
45
typically.
days?
Yes, sir.
And
And again, just so we have the caveat here, you know, this timeline is very, right now, it's still what I call pliable. I mean, there can be some ebbs and flows. You could have a bid process where you have it contest, I mean.
I think everybody automatically factors in the
there's
timelines, maybe so, maybe not so.
Yeah, so our goal, this is the goal, and we will certainly apprise you if something changes, there's something unexpected that comes. But this is the goal, and this is our best guess today.
So Lee, you wanna give us a short synopsis of what we're looking at rate-wise?
Yeah, so, in a nutshell, the analysis that I printed for all y'all is raising 65 million. The issuance costs will probably be less because we're getting a significant discount from Fitch because we worked that out earlier in the year. So, Carly has been engaging, and we've been engaging with the two rating agencies already. So, that number will probably be less than that. We're looking at 4.38% all in with issuance costs right now, a little above 60,000 per million. I believe Mayor and Tickrick are budgeting 65,000 per million on this one relative to the Tickrick's budget. So within Tickrick's budget as we sit right now, the Fed meets next week, anticipates 75 basis points, which the market has built a lot of that in already. Another meeting November 1st and 2nd, and then the last meeting December 13th and 14th. I think we can fit it in before the December meeting, as long as we don't have a whole lot of hiccups in the pliable schedule. So, I mean, I think everything looks good. A lot of the work y'all did back in the spring, and we're ready to go. I mean, rates are still relatively low. 4.38% still not a bad rate. Probably never see the 2-point-something% that we issued back in December of whatever 2020 during the pandemic. But yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be pretty straightforward.
Okay, any other questions, Norman, Matthew?
I do want to give a heads up, kind of, we have the preliminary work that Barry and I will do to get ready for the 772 process. Sort of the first step we need from council before we can file is, remember, we passed those big, thick, the preliminary bond ordinances, so they're about 75-page ordinances that you guys saw through last time. As soon as we can get those prepared, I'm gonna get them on in front of you guys so we can start that process and start that 45-day clock running. That's why I give you a heads up, if you get your packet and all of a sudden go, what in the world is this? Because it looks like, you remember, those ordinances look like we're going and getting that money right then, but that has to be included in our bond filings. So just a heads up, if you see something a little crazy, give me a call and I'll.
All right, thank you. Mayor, anything else you wanted to brief us on related to the McWrights Ferry Road?
No, sir, and unless there's any objection, we'll begin processing all this through the normal committees and council agendas.
I have no objection to proceeding. Mr. Wilson, Mr. Crowe. Item number 2, authorization for the CFO to execute a letter of engagement with Malden & Jenkins for annual external audit and single audit services. Ms. Standridge.
Yes, sir, thank you. Good afternoon, council. This is a request to execute the letter of engagement with Malden & Jenkins, who is our external auditor. We have used M&J for the last 4 years, and I think that we did previously discuss an idea of doing an RFQ for this upcoming audit season. However, I am requesting that we possibly forego this 1 year and just re-sign or extend our engagement with Malden & Jenkins, and we will do an RFQ next year. The reason that I'm asking for that is, obviously, this bond issuance coming up will be a large amount of work to be done in the fall. Also, within the accounting and finance department, we are down a couple of very significant roles, positions in the staff levels that do work with the audit specifically. And then also I have a couple of personnel also going out for maternity leave at that exact same time. So this year is just probably not the year to transition to a new audit team. And also I can just tell you that Malden & Jenkins has been above and beyond excellent for both city operations and financial planning in general. In fact, we were the first ones to engage with Malden & Jenkins in the entire state of Alabama, and since then, the city of Huntsville has also done that, as well as the city of Auburn is looking towards doing it as well. So the firm and their exemplary service, and then the amount of teaching that they have done for us is really just speaks volumes.
Okay. And how does the NTE of 166, where does that shake out on what we've been paying?
It is comparable with all the other Big Ten. I polled all of the other Big Ten finance directors, and 166 sits squarely in the center of it. There are some that will engage with other audit
No, I
firms.
mean, how does it shake out in terms of what we've been paying
Oh,
annually?
I'm sorry, prior year. Yes, sir. They charged us 157 last year, so it is slightly increased, but below the 8% of inflationary costs.
Okay, so, any questions, Mr. Wilson, Mr. Crowe? I would, please add to the minutes, that this is, the expectation is that this 1 year is for, some circumstances are expected to pass, and the next year is expected to be, we go out for an RFQ, right?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
All right. Is there a motion?
to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, Elevate Tuscaloosa Budget Revision number 5, Ms. Standridge.
Yes, sir. You will see in front of you actually that there is a substitution for this amendment. It is the long landscapes. Yes, sir. The long landscape page in front of you. This Elevate budget revision basically just encompasses all of the bringing up to current projection that we have. The first Elevate budget that was adopted obviously was done September of 2021, and that kind of set our projections at that time. Obviously, projections have changed with the last 9-10 months that have continued. So this is bringing the Elevate money and all of the budgets set within that fund up to current levels of projection and projects as approved by the council through the mayor's large spreadsheet that he has issued and that you guys have reviewed periodically over the last few months.
Okay, would you walk us through 3 of the most significant examples of that, this
Yes, sir.
truing up?
Absolutely. So the first one really is going to be the revenue, the sales tax dollars.
Sure.
If you can, sorry, I left mine.
Is there an extra one over there anywhere?
I thought we,
I didn't get one.
I'm sorry.
Is there an extra one other? I didn't get
Oh, I'm
one.
so sorry. I apologize.
No problem. Thank you.
That's definitely my fault.
And there's no need to go through this entire sheet, but if you would pick out the 3 most meaningful examples.
Yes, sir, absolutely. So the first one, on the first line, really sales tax dollars. Back in August, September of 2021, we projected that we would get $20,791,000 for sales taxes. We've grown since then to the tune of about $1.7 million, and now we project that we will actually get $22.5 million in sales tax just within the Elevate Fund. So that's what we're just kind of bringing it up to the current projection level. That's an example on the revenue side for projection. One of the examples on the expenditure side of things, whenever we increase revenues and the projection for revenues, a lot of the expenditures are based off of percentages of revenue. For example, the operations and maintenance set aside and then the public safety transfer is 15% and then 20% respectively of net revenue. So whenever you increase revenues, you also increase that percentage set aside in kind. So for example, let's see, where is the public safety set aside?
Admin contingency?
Well, so I was going to do the public safety pay plan. So the third line up from the bottom, you'll see that the 2.629 was the original budget based off of the original projection of sales taxes. Since we're increasing sales taxes, we need to increase the public safety pay plan set aside of that $355,000.
Okay. Give us one more goodie.
So one more example. One of the examples was the airport. If you'll think back to some of the property purchases and then the grants set aside, the grant matches that we have set aside for airport grants throughout the year. If you remember those kind of coming to you and being discussed, this one is probably right about in the middle of the page. Tuscaloosa National Airport ETF for $500,000. Now that we have moved those to the RFFI and then those grant matches have already been set, we're now decreasing that out of the Elevate Fund.
Okay. And the 1 million beside event center, what is?
Yes, sir. So if you'll recall, the professional service fees for the event center that have been discussed, that was put into the mayor's spreadsheet when we were starting to talk about the event center. And so that's $1 million set aside for professional services that need to happen now. That's the architect that was, I think, just approved by council a couple of weeks ago. That also includes a certain amount for Volker and the owner's representative contract. That's those.
All right. Any questions on that? Oh, I have one.
Yes, sir.
So, under taxes for Elevate 2023 proposed budget, I've been operating with that number just under 25 million, 24,999.
Yes, sir.
999. What is the difference?
We did it just to trick you that way.
Yeah,
It's
well,
not 25 million.
It's suspicious, I want you to know. What is the?
But you call now.
What is the, why does that differ from the,
The 22.
is that the 22,519 plus the 2,678 under use taxes?
So yes, sir, the 24,999 is really the 22,500 plus our anticipated growth for the next year.
There's a timing
Oh.
difference between these two things, right, between the books.
Oh, okay, yeah, I
Because
got
this
it.
is more- this
This
is
is
for-
22,
This
I'm
is,
sorry.
this is for fiscal 22.
I got
Yeah,
it.
this
That's
is
not for
22.
fiscal
This is a
20.
truer number
Okay.
than part of that,
All right,
I would think.
any other questions?
No, sir.
Elevate Tuscaloosa budget revision number 5, is this just being presented to us?
No, sir, this is actually for adoption. We will put this on council next week. This is truing up of the fiscal 22 that we would have to get done. before
Okay,
the
so
end of
the action being taken is truing up the actual 22
Yes, sir.
results.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sure. Any other
Motion.
questions or motions?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion is approved. Item number 4, water and sewer fund budget revision number 5 also.
Yes, sir. This is a request that came to us from both Kimberly and Ron Smith. They have mentioned that there were some savings that they had in some individual large meter line items within the water and sewer operating fund. They're requesting to move those savings into a capital fund so that they will then be there into perpetuity and be able to apply those to the AMI project. We have looked over their budget line items. We agree that they'll probably have those savings left over at the end of the year, and so they are just kind of requesting that pre-set aside into the capital
For
fund.
meter upgrades, right?
Meter upgrades, yes,
Continuing
sir.
that project.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Amendment is approved. Or revision. Item number 5, water and sewer RFFI budget revision number 10.
Yes, sir. This is the opposite to that specific one that I just mentioned. So it is basically the transfer for those large meter operational budget savings, transferring it into the capital fund, receipting it, and then applying it to the project for meter upgrades.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Okay, revision is approved. Does that leave us number 6, general fund budget revision number 15?
Yes, sir, there are two parts to this one. This one is basically the same thing happened for the airport. So Jeff Powell has identified some of the savings that he'll have in his operating budget. He would like to then request those be set aside in the capital budget so that they can do some repairs and maintenance to the airport itself, and then also to set aside for some extra grant match funds that he's hoping to be able to get in the future.
So
Again,
moved.
that's 178,000.
Yes, sir, that's the 178.
Okay.
And then item B on that one is a request from Fire to be able to use their ambulance franchise funding. I've come to you before to discuss the ambulance franchise agreement, but that whenever Fire does request these items, we then kind of get with OCA to make sure that it fits within the franchise agreement and that the funding is there. They're requesting to purchase a new radio console for their communications center. That's about $9,000.
We talked about that process though this morning, right?
Yes, sir, we
Yeah.
did.
Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 7, 2019A warrant budget revision.
So from
Number
here
3.
from here forward, on the agenda, these are really items that we have brought to you through the 2023 budget process. We can go through them individually and just have discussions on them, but they were scheduled to be on the Finance Committee this week. So the 2019A warrant, if you will remember through the capital funds that we discussed, there was $100,000 of just kind of extra sitting in 2019A. We are requesting to put that towards paving.
Okay. Any questions?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Now, it's item number 8 begins all of the current budget review process that we're into now, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, so items, 8 and down, really will be setting budget and all of the necessary accoutrement for, the fiscal 23, operating year.
What's a good reminder?
An accompaniment,
I don't know.
an accompaniment.
I have no, what's that 25-cent word mean?
It's a French word for the accompaniments.
Things that go with it.
It's the raison d'etre for changing things.
Okey dokey.
All right, but before we go, so, Carly, the biggies, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, adoption of amendments.
That's the COLA.
That's the COLA.
Yes, sir.
16.
That's water and sewer rates, so
That's
that's the
just
10% rate increase.
17, approval to amend code.
That's the garbage fee.
$2.
18, adoption of amendments to code.
That's creating the River District Fund.
Is that, do we need to do that
So we
separately, or
need
is
our
that,
votes.
is that encompassed in the,
It's really, I would say that it is encompassed in that. We don't need it to start until October 1. It really is part of the budget proposal process. is to
okay,
create that
so
River District Fund.
in the overall budget proposal adoption, everything from 8 downward is
Part of that
in
book.
this, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, is there, we're discussed, reviewed pretty heavily up to this point. Is there anything anybody would like to bring out that we have not covered in any of the work sessions or hearings so far related to these items? If not, I would ask that we make a motion to table, and we follow the process that we outlined in this morning's work session. That is, no later than midday Thursday, I will have to accounting and finance for placement on next week's finance committee, any proposed changes. If you have proposed changes that you want to be reviewed in that, give them to me by Wednesday night. And they need to be written and succinct and complete. What it is you want to do, how you propose doing it, where's it coming from, etc. And then in finance next Tuesday, we're gonna move through those, and it's not gonna be yakky. It's
We
gonna,
can't
I
have a
mean,
debate.
huh?
We can't have a
No,
debate.
you do all your debating between now and next Tuesday, okay? But next week it's gonna be, is there a motion, is there a second? All in favor, all opposed.
I'll be
But
calling each of you this.
you call away. But I also I would be disappointed if we catch any big surprises in that, okay? We've been in this process pretty hard for a month, and I would hope there's not gonna be surprises at the last minute. If so, they may get lost in the email somewhere. Okay, any questions, comments, suggestions? So is there a motion to table items, how is it phrased?
8 through 18?
8 through
18?
18?
So moved. Mr.
Second.
We need to table each of them individually
Okay.
Why?
because they're all individual items.
Just call up the item and we'll do it.
Okay, is there a motion to table item number 8?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to table item number 9?
Yes.
So moved.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to table item number 10?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to table item number 11?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to table item number 12?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 13, is there a motion to
Hey,
table?
Right, Mr.
So
Turner
moved.
cannot vote. That was an illegal
It's just
vote.
finance
It still
committee.
passes.
Who voted?
Clerk call the roll. I'm kidding. Where are we?
We're on number 13. Is there a motion to table item number 13?
So moved.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to table item number 14?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Tyner's vote is stricken from the record.
I could avoid that.
Not a voting member of this committee.
Discrimination.
Is there a motion? You're right, it is discrimination. If you ain't on the committee, you can't vote. Is there a motion to table item number 15?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to table item number 16?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is there
Aye.
a motion to table item number 17?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No.
Is there a motion to table item number 18?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That makes Brandy happy.
Well, that's why we're here.
Of All right, so next week in finance, the plan is to consider any complete written proposals for changes. We'll move through those quickly, and then we will take a finance committee vote on pushing whatever the results of that up to full council or not. As somebody brought up this morning, I think any of you plus the mayor plus I believe department heads, is it, Mayor? Have the privilege or to place an item individually on full council. So you have that option also. That has not that's not been a glaring success in the past, but you do have that option. Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.